Good evening. The Board of Education regular meeting will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Angela, can you please read our mission statement and take roll call?
Yes. At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community. Deb?
Here.
Sandy is absent with notice. Margaret? Here. Candace? Here. Kelly is absent with notice. Daniel? Here. And I am here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we approve our agenda, I need to make a couple changes. We are going to move item 12, our closed session, up to item number 7, and then everything will drop down. We also need to add the approval, under item 10, letter D.
It'll be 11.
I'm sorry, thank you, it'll be 11. Letter D, approval of a vehicle purchase, and that would be the truck and plow. And then a letter E, approval of vehicle purchase, which will be the cargo van. So I'm looking for a motion, please.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
Support?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Support?
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Walmsley?
Hey, some resignations and retirements. We have Shelley Dalio has resigned from the first tech team coach for robotics position. Jarrett Gill, who was recently hired as a Title I 31A paraprofessional. He got a teaching position as an art, working towards that in another district. Kayla Guinea, a custodian that was hired back in July, is going to a different direction. Crystal Lum, the current GSRP associate teacher, will be also going in a different direction. Mike Rainier, ELA teacher at the high school. Mr. Brian Rubin, the science teacher at the high school. Mark Valenti, the trap coach. That is a volunteer position, but he is stepping down. And Melanie Wims, who we recently hired as a special education parapro, as you look in the backup, is going in a different direction. New hires. Jason Campbell will begin with us on Monday as the math teacher. We have a couple people, Kimberly DeLang, Hunter Hill, and Kayla Rodriguez, both science and a math teacher, who we are working with to get certified through #Teach, as was presented previously. Timothy Langmesser, he's currently been doing his student teaching with Mrs. Nader. He's been hired as the ELA teacher. Bernice Weiner as the lunchroom supervisor. And then here tonight we have Paul Knight, who is being recommended as the middle school dean of students. So Mr. Knight, would you like to introduce yourself to the board?
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Paul Knight. I'm sorry, I literally just came from the airport here, so it's been a little hectic getting here. I'm coming from Michigan Collegiate. That's where I've spent the last 16 years of my educational career. I'm super excited to be here. I've been the principal. I was the principal there for the last 5 years, assistant principal before that. So I'm super excited to get things going here.
Welcome. Thank you.
And finally, a notice of appointments. Christina Blanco, she's currently our lead child care. She will also take on a temporary special education parapro position. Julie Nader will become the high school website media, social media coordinator. And Nicole Schaefer is the March's reading month for the high school. There were no errors brought to my attention regarding the minutes from the February 13th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Walmsley? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to Section 8C of the Michigan Open Meeting Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of negotiations.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will obviously be continuing our meeting upon return. Okay, we are going to be back in open session at 7:40. Okay, next item on our agenda is our Blue Devil Raves. I will just go down the line. Danielle, do you have any?
I'm good this week.
Angela?
I would just like to wish luck to the students that are going to mock trial competition. I believe that is this weekend. And I guess just recognize all the extra hard work that an academic club like that also, requires. So, and wish them luck. And Dr. Ladd, of course, luck as well.
Candace?
Yes, last Friday we had our Richmond Middle School PTA dodgeball tournament, which was quite a hoot. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the PTA for once again putting on a fundraiser. They put fun into the fundraisers. And Mrs. Morella for her excellent commentating. She was quite a natural Friday night out there. And we have another fundraiser coming up, the PTA called Springfest on March 24th. And looking forward to another fundraiser at the middle school. So, yeah.
Margaret?
Nope, I'm good.
I just want to acknowledge Renee and Mrs. Borwick and Mrs. Zabo for all their work on the board, putting together the curriculum, the packet. I know how much time is involved in putting our course catalog together. It's not an easy thing to do, and there were quite a few changes, so I just want to acknowledge the hard work that they put into it. They did a nice job.
And Miss Morella.
Oh, and Miss Morella, I'm sorry, because I forgot the middle schools in our course catalog too. Thank you. Mr. Walmsley, is there anybody that you'd like to acknowledge?
I'd just like to acknowledge Tim Liziness is one of our bus drivers. He's relatively new to the district, but anytime the director needs anything from them, he's taken on field trips. He's always willing to step up, cover routes if need be. If you haven't had a chance to meet, he's just an extremely nice guy, and we're excited that he's part of the team there because he has a very positive attitude towards the whole department and just a team player. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our superintendent and legislative update, district and legislative update.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to start with, as you know, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, the governor released their budget, her budget, excuse me, for the 23-24 fiscal year. So the budget season officially has begun. And what I passed you is kind of a summary of her of her budget. You'll see there's some new features in there, which you may have already heard, but I'm just going to highlight a few of them that are pertinent to Richmond. Obviously, the Section 21, the per pupil foundation, increasing it by $458, which is a 5% increase, is significant, it's been in budgets before, but it's at an 80% rather than other years. It's been 75 cyber schools being reduced and receiving only 80% of the foundation than in-person schools. Again, it's been in the budget before, but we'll see where that lands. If you go down that list, there's a couple other ones. You've heard the breakfast program and lunch program. The governor wants to make Michigan, one of just a handful of states that offers free breakfast and free lunch to all students. So that's $160 million in reimbursement cost to schools. The one thing on that one is districts would have to retire all the old debt that may be occurred before they're eligible for this, but that has not been an issue for Richmond in the past. At-risk funding, we talk about 31A. There's an increase, a 5% increase of $64.7 million. There's a couple others on here. The Great Start Readiness Program. This is an increase in trying to make sure that preschool is for 4-year-olds, available for every 4-year-old. In conversations with superintendents and kind of some of the chat I've been part of across the state, just some blogs and all that, surprisingly, this one's a little concerning to a lot of districts because they don't physically have the space. If you look at the number of preschool, if you think about our preschool, is some of our half-day programs. So we run an AM and a PM. Well, instead of one classroom, we would actually need 2 classrooms to run preschool for everybody under the Great Start Readiness model of a full day. Now, we have the luxury because we have the space, but there are some districts that don't. So that is getting a little pushback just from a physical space. Third grade reading law is on there to keep the increasing literacy coaches. There's a $15 million to hire more literacy coaches across the state. You'll see some increased funding in Section 41, which is English language learner. Special education funding increases. It would move our reimbursements for special education to 87.5% of the foundation allowance. It's no secret, educating students with special needs or disability costs more, and so we do get a reimbursement for special ed. This gets it closer to what it actually costs. CTE equipment funding to be able to put more, add more CTE programs for the infrastructure costs and the funding, another $7.5 million for that. School safety grants is always a concern with districts. They're actually doubling the funding for Section 97 to be $300 million, which is a per pupil payment to districts that we received this year. There's a cyber security risk allocation so the districts can see their vulnerability to being cyber attacked, which we have had experience in years past. 99H First Robotics, it increases the robotics grant $100,000, which I would just like to say we still do not know what our robotics is for this year, and we're already into March pretty soon.
Right.
And then you'll see the season's almost over. Section 47A and C talks about MIPSR's retirement costs and doing more of the pay down to bring those down. So these are obviously good talking points if you know someone who wants to know what was proposed. This may not be what it finally turns out to be because, as you know, the negotiation is a give and take on both sides. I would expect negotiations to be quicker this year, having one political party running both houses in the governor's office. So stay tuned. In May is the next revenue estimating conference, which is where they use more of the final numbers. The one that would happen in January is the one that establishes this budget, and then May gets it closer to some final numbers. Just a reminder for those going to the county level, for those going to the Macomb County School Board Association dinner, it's tomorrow at Anchor Bay. Bond project update. Today we open bids for the summer projects, which will come to you in March. We'll do a presentation on the 13th of the scope of the projects and the award of contract on the 27th of March. We received 2 bids for the projects for this summer, which are primarily paving and road and parking lots. And they're typically the ones that are usually the lower the bids that we've gone with in the past. So it's the numbers that initially came in are right within what we budgeted for. So that's good news. So there wasn't a pleasant increase that we were expecting.
Brian, so for that, if we approve them on March 27th, but the work starts after school
Yes.
gets out?
Yes. Yep. And we'll share the math next year. We'll be phasing in. There'll be a portion from when school gets out till about July 15th. We're part of the road. I believe it's the middle school back parking lot and the side parking lot is tore up. The small parking lot that's being put by the junior varsity baseball diamond will be part of that. And then when that project's done, the road in front of the middle school out to 32 would be the second phase of that, so that we can still have access to our facilities and so forth.
Brian, is there going to be a light out at this road out here?
A traffic light?
Lit up sign
for our school, it's hard to miss, or easy to miss when you're on 32 and you're pulling in between the library and the road. Is there any sort of
There's no
more
power
light
that
sign?
goes to that sign. It used to say Richmond Middle School, and now it says Welcome to Richmond Community.
There's a nice sign there, but it doesn't
There's
light
no
up
power
in the
out to
morning
it.
when it's dark. Okay.
We did not, that might be something we could add to the list, because I also got on that road, I've received some calls from parents that it's very dark on that road driving in. So that would be on the list of when we're all done with the budget, or the bond, items that we would want to look into. I can put that on the list. District update. I would like to do a special thank you to Tracy Lesnew, and I don't know her connection yet to the district, but she's from South Lyon. Felicia Smith, Kathy and Terry Miller, and there was an anonymous donor in the community. They donated over $1,800 to the district to wipe away any student's negative balance on their lunch. So as of February 17th, anybody who had a negative balance, which was there was about $1,800 in negative balances, was wiped away, and Mrs. Guinea, our food service director, was notifying families through the school manager that this was taken care of for them. So, and we've had people in the past step up and do that, but I just want to publicly acknowledge those three individuals, and then there was an anonymous donor who wishes to remain anonymous, who donated a little over $1,800. So we're very thankful for that. This Wednesday and Thursday is our kindergarten roundup and preschool roundup. Wednesday is the class of 2036. And Thursday is the class of 2037 and 2038. It's from 5 to 7. We'll be offering dinner those nights. If any board members are able to come, please stop by and just say hello. It should be a great night. We're really looking forward to it. We'll be having a lot of great things that are planned for that night. Reminder to everybody, parent-teacher conferences are in a week. It's usually 6 weeks into the second semester. It's a little earlier because the second semester moved because of the absence or the days that we were off. But March 8th is a Wednesday, that's afternoon conferences, and March 9th is a Thursday, that's afternoon and evening conferences. We still offer in-person and virtual conferences as options for parents. Fifth graders have been attending Starbase. Mr. Clendenin, Ms. Fitzgerald, and Mrs. Buchanan's classes, I believe, actually started Starbase today as a second round. But Ms. Gillespie and Mrs. Stradowski's class have been going to Starbase. It's a great experience. There's some pictures that are on social media, so if you haven't seen them, just flip through the social media and you can see some of the students' excitement of going to Starbase. March 1st begins March's Reading Month. That's Wednesday. If you haven't had a chance to look at your schedule, if you do so to let the middle school or elementary school, if you want to read in classroom, they look forward to it. It's our month of really promoting reading and the importance of reading. Also on March 1st, we have 48 CTE business students that are going on a work-based learning field trip to Ford Field to learn about business and marketing in sports.
Nice.
So they're heading down there on Wednesday. I believe robotics is at Kettering this weekend, is it? Okay. We have 5 wrestlers that are heading to individual states. Noah Harris, Wyatt Peters, Eddie Olson, Brady St. John, and Matt Mish. I believe that's this weekend. I'm trying to get my scores. Cheer is heading to, they were runners-up in regional and qualified to head to states, so they are heading to Central Michigan this weekend for the state competition. Cross our fingers. They've been doing outstanding all year, and so I'm looking forward to them doing very well at states. The last thing I have is the district received a grant from the Department of Health and Human Services to provide air ventilation purifiers for every classroom, every office area, and every large space, with 2 years of the refill supplies. So we will be receiving those. It equates to approximately 80 office units, 135 classroom units, and 13 large spaces for like libraries and cafeterias. So they'll be coming in. You'll start seeing those in our facilities.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Walmsley? Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is items from interest from the board. I'm going to start this evening. I need approval from the board to have Mr. Walmsley share the discussion of our closed session this evening regarding negotiations. So Candace, are you in agreement?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
Danielle?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
And I also say yes. So Mr. Walmsley?
Okay, it's no secret that we have lost some very talented teachers. We've also gained many too, but we've lost some because of various reasons that a teacher may have. And so we have been trying as a district to address the overall teacher shortage as it pertains to Richmond Community Schools. And one of the ways that we have done that is we've partnered, as we've talked previously with #Teach. It was our last presentation, to provide alternate options to get individuals into the classroom. And I'll just do a side note. If the public does not know, go look at the enrollment in teacher education programs. They are half of what they were 5 years ago. Go look at every district in Macomb County's website. There are pages and pages of just vacancies. We've been saying this in the education committee for years. We are in a crisis situation. And so, again, without knowing each individual teacher's personal story, why they leave, the one thing that we can control is a finance aspect of it. And we have done I think a very good job working with the unions in the past and currently and hopefully going forward to address those and our needs with what we can stay or be able to support. In the previous teacher contracts, teachers have given up stuff. And we have made it a priority, as the board has, and me being the vehicle for the board, to try to reinstate much of that back steps. They used to have, when we had, they would have 5 days to take their pay off the top. We've reinstated all that as much as possible. There is still one thing that's still left as still a concession, and it's part of the bargaining to bring back, would be a 1% annuity that they used to have in prior years. But in trying to address the teacher shortage, the union has provided a plan or a possible solution of an incentive to do a quarterly incentive to keep individuals here if it is a finance. As a district, we considered that, and we're very thankful that they're working with us to try to come to a solution on that. But the district's position was we believe we needed to do more and offer a little bit more than what was there to really get at the crux of what we believe some of the reason teachers are choosing to leave. And when you look at the bottom line pay scale, that's the primary, one of the primary reasons. So what the district has put out, and we are in that process to meet with the teachers, representatives, see where we stand on this issue. We have put out what we're calling, when I say we, the district, a short-term and a long-term hopeful solution to a teacher to keep and retain teachers as well as attract them. In a short-term plan, we had offered moving their insurance to match the others in the organization. Every non-teacher that receives insurance. It is not identical. The plans are two very different plans. But in a short term, it could put anywhere from $1,000 to roughly $4,000 back into a teacher's pocket if they choose. The second thing is trying to be able to address teachers that have been looking and have offers in other districts. One of the things that we've offered or proposed is they have the ability to match an offer that a teacher might receive from another district if they choose, if they're looking because of financial. The third part, and starts getting more towards structural and long-term solutions. would be to extend the matrix. Currently, there are 10 steps in the matrix. We would be extending it to 14 steps, which are approximately 5% raises each year for a teacher. If you look at the matrix, it goes anywhere from 4 to, I think it's 5.06 increases. We had at the time when we met about 27 teachers, a little less than now because of some resignation, that were at the top of the scale. In other words, they're not moving. So trying to retain them by adding the steps with the hopes that we would retain them. And the fourth one is teachers currently have a contract through 24-25, offering them a extension on the contract for 25-26, which would be a full step, as well as taking the matrix and adding a % on the matrix, which is what we currently do what we did this year, what we're going to do next year and the following year. It's a 1% on the matrix on a full step for teachers. But as we know, there are about 25, 27 people who they're not moving because they're at the max. So those are the 4 areas that we've offered. I'm optimistic that we will have further conversations with our teachers union. I know we have a meeting coming up to talk to them about that, but that is, I believe that's where we're at.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to add to it. I've been traveling around for the last 3 weeks, and this is not just a Michigan issue. This is across the country. Arkansas raised their starting pay for every teacher to $70,000. Well, I know that when I was driving across. Their starting pay was something like 46 or something. That's across the board. They are in desperate need of teachers. So this issue is across the country. Texas, my niece works in a school down there. They have openings now. So this is not just a Michigan. This is all over the place. There are not people going into education. We need to really strongly encourage, if you know of kids or kids are talking about it, to go into education. We need them. I don't know where we're going to go if we don't start promoting more to have teachers. Okay.
Mr. John, can I follow up on
Yes.
this? I've received a lot of phone calls from parents and emails. When I say a lot, when they get to the point they're actually calling me, there's probably 4 others that haven't called me, 5 others that have a similar concern. One of the things that I think parents and anybody in the community, when you compare districts, it's one thing to compare just the salary, but you got to look at where they're allocating the dollars. And I'll give you this example. There's a district in Macomb County that receives the same per pupil funding as Richmond, but has little to no transportation costs. So those dollars, when you aren't spending on busing and transporting, you can reallocate to have higher wages and higher salaries to attract people. And it wasn't until I've been, based on the direction the board's been asking me to bring them stuff, start looking at what are other districts doing, where do we fall in comparison to other districts, that some of these things are coming out. It's not as easy as one of the parents emailed, why can't you just match? I can't. I have to follow a collective bargaining agreement. Unless there's language in there, I can't. Why is your salary in Richmond topping off at 10 and another district tops off at 16 or step 14? That's all through the bargaining process. And again, I want to reiterate what I started is the last at least 9 years currently, and what I'm hopeful in the near future, we've been really trying to work to what's in the best interest of Richmond. And so I'm very optimistic that we will get to a point where we're at a pay scale, a matrix that keeps people here or draws people here rather than them looking for other jobs because they can make more in another district.
Thank you. Okay, from the rest of the board, Candace, do you have any items of interest?
Yes. So I did attend the legislative committee for the Macomb County School Board Association on February 14th. And I just wanted to let you guys know that they were coming up with a lot of all the different district issues that are going on and what they would like presented to Lansing. And I have a whole copy of all of that if anybody wants to read it. All the things that they've been working on, they haven't actually presented it yet. They're still kind of tracking it down to the 5 main things. And the one thing that I found interesting, you were talking about the busing in that, her plan with the Go Green, the gas-free busing initiative. And I did kind of bring up our busing rural, how we were not considered rural, but we are. And everybody definitely agreed that we are unique here in Richmond, being that we're bordering the 2 different counties. And we kind of talked about how maybe that kind of bus wouldn't be so great in our district because of the amount of time they're on the road and how far, and that may not be for us. So I asked that we put that one on the list too. So we'll see. I'm excited to keep going to those meetings and see what comes out of it. But I created my own little book. If anybody wants to see, I'll be adding all my information in here if you ever want. So there's that. And then also talking about the Starbase, I was lucky enough to attend with the 5th graders and Mrs. Gillespie and Ms. Shadowski's classes, and quite a experience, and very lucky that Richmond has been approved to come because not all the schools get to do this, and it is behavioral based. And one of the teachers did actually tell me a story about how they did just eliminate one of the districts previously because of the behavior of the children. And the long list of districts that want to be a part of that is huge. So the kids they just behave so well when they're there. And the teachers help too, because they're very exciting teachers, and they teach with, they get all the kids involved. It's just a great time all around. So shout out to Mrs. Starburst and Venus.
How many years have we been going to that, Brian?
Oh, it's been going, well, many years. I'd have to get the, it's
It's been a long time.
long time.
And it's great stuff. They did CAD designing with 3D printing. They're going to be doing some simulating through landing the spaceship tomorrow and Thursday. It's all fun, all good CTE stuff. Really, getting kids involved. I loved it. And I believe that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Margaret, do you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Danielle?
I'm good.
Angela?
No, thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is our action items. Okay, here we go, Ryan.
All right, well,
We're trying something new tonight, so bend with us a little bit here. So we're going to approve a 2023-24 middle school and high school course catalog. Brian?
So just we talk about me giving that short summary
Short.
before it, or that's why we're doing. So this is the catalog that was presented last week by Ms. Staples, Ms. Zabo, Ms. Morella. Up to today, I had not received any questions. There was a clarification question. Mrs. Basilio asked a good question. There are some courses. Are we relying on PSAT, I think was the question. We consider those in placements of students. Sometimes it's looking at NWEA, it's looking at what courses they previously. There's no course that you have to have this in order to get in. It's a piece that we look at to make the decision to make sure it's the right placement for the student. Kind of look at triangulate your data. It's one of the things when you statistics classes that you're trying to look at 3 pieces to make sure we got the right fit. So other than that, thank is for your recommendation to approve the handbook.
Okay. I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the 2023-2024 middle school and high school course catalogs as presented and discussed at the February 13th, 2023 Board of Education meeting.
Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next action item is the approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment number 1.
This was presented at the last board meeting. Just as a reminder, our revenue still exceeds our expenses. Many of the accounts were adjusted as we normally do for the first amendment.
And this was stuff to
Yes,
add to it, right?
What you had, I did upload the resolution. It wasn't when I had the other one, so I
Okay.
printed a copy of the resolution.
Okay.
It's the exact same that we use in years past, just the different numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for a motion.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent, excuse me, and approve FY 2023 budget amendment number 1 as presented at the February 13th, 2023 Board of Education meeting and outlined in the attached resolution.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I am looking, this next action item is the approval of the middle school cafeteria lunch tables.
So prior to this purchase, we did purchase other to replace them. We are looking at adjusting some of the lunch schedules next year. So we need some more tables for that lunchroom. Moving that the high school is moving to a 7-period day, we need to, for the staff that are shared, do some creativity in the scheduling. So that's why we need additional tables.
I'm looking for a motion.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and award a contract to School Specialty for 20 additional lunch tables at Richmond Middle School for an amount not to exceed $19,756.20. Furthermore, the board authorizes the superintendent to enter into a contractual agreement within the scope of the project on behalf of the Board of Education. Consistent with general provisions of the board purchasing policy, the superintendent is authorized to approve change orders on the project that are within the bond budget for allowances and contingency funds. This project is authorized in the application for preliminary qualification of bonds approved by the Michigan Department of Treasury and approved by the voters of Richmond Community Schools, for which funding from the 2020 School Building and Site Bond Series 1 is available.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Danielle?
Thank you. Any discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Candace? Deb? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, I'm looking, the next action item is the approval of a vehicle purchase, a truck with plow.
When the board approved the original budget, we set aside dollars to replace the existing truck, which is now at a point of it's not drivable. So we will be, once we have the new one, we will be replacing, disposing of the old one, and the truck has a plow to allow us to do plowing in the district between our normal plows with the dahlias.
Thank you. Looking for a motion?
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and amend the approval to purchase one 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD pickup from Todd Wenzel Chevrolet for a total not to exceed $44,579.60, as outlined in the attached documentation, for which funding transferred from the general fund to the non-bond capital projects fund is authorized.
Do I have support? Support. Thank you. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Deb? Aye. Motion carries. Next action item is the approval of vehicle purchase, a cargo van.
This is being purchased from the food service budget. The current cargo van that the food service has will be purchased by the general fund to be used for operations and maintenance now that we have our custodians back in-house. Having a van that's purchased out of food service, you're very limited who can use that van. Just as a side note, trying to get quotes on cars and vans, has been a long process because we had people saying they were going to commit, and they emailed us over the weekend saying, we don't have them because we already sold them on the lot, or we don't have the inventory. It has been a challenge, so it's not as easy as it's been in the past, but, so it's just a side note.
I'm looking for a motion.
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the purchase of one 2023 GMC Savannah 2500 cargo van from Todd Wenzel Buick GMC of Westland for a total not to exceed $40,411 as outlined in the attached documentation, for which funding from the Food Service Fund is authorized.
Do I have a support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion?
So, with all that said, and if you said it, I missed it, I'm sorry. When are these going to be able to come in?
The truck they have on the lot, so we'll be issuing the PO tomorrow. The
Okay.
cargo van is May,
Cargo van will be in production in May.
production in May.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Margaret?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Candace? Aye. And Deb, I vote aye, motion carries. Okay, our next item on the agenda is our public comments. Since the last meeting, I received an email from a parent about the elementary special schedule and a full-time armed security liaison officer in each building. This was forwarded on to Mr. Walmsley to respond. I received another email from a parent regarding teacher appreciation concerns, and both Mr. Walmsley and I replied to that email. At this time, any member of the public may address the board. Please sign in and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Are there any public comments?
Sorry. Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. This is my first time doing this, hold on. I'm not the-
Only 3 minutes, Margaret, is okay.
Now, I know, but if I don't do what they tell me. Go.
I just have some questions about SEL and if it's applied here in district.
I'm sorry, first, and I know we probably know your name, but would you please state your...
I did know.
You did. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I didn't hear anything about it. I don't remember ever talking to you guys regarding social and emotional learning here in district. We actually had a group therapy session, as I'll call it, sorry, at high school where my son was involved in, and I didn't get any information beforehand, before any of this was done. So if you guys have any information on social emotional self, please send it to me, because as a parent who I seem to kind of be updated with things that are going on, I had no idea that this was being pushed at the school. So if I can get an email from anybody, I would appreciate it. I did find on my own that there are, in the state of Michigan, opt-out for this type of learning, just so that you guys know if you want a copy. I have one at home. But if you guys can just keep me posted. Did you want this?
I would like to, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, being, oops,
Oh, wait. Oh, this is why this isn't my job.
this is
Hold
what we don't
on.
give her the job of.
How do you?
Hold on.
Should've got our
All
analog.
right, ready?
My name is Christina Turchi. More of just a question, maybe directed towards Mr. Walmsley or Ms. Michon. I was here a couple meetings ago asking in regards to trying to incorporate something with the Oxford High School students that were involved in the tragic event that happened at their school. I haven't heard back from either of you about that. I really hope that we can do something, especially because we just now had another tragic event happen at Michigan State University. My daughter actually saw that on the news and it brought her to tears. We don't have any family members at Michigan State, but she was pretty shook up by it. She's 9. She
doesn't fully understand all of this, and I think hearing it from a peer, someone that's a little bit older than her versus an adult, is a lot better. So if one of you can kind of get back to me and kind of give me an update on if it's something that can happen, or if it's something that I have to try and go do on my own, and see if you guys will let me use the school to put on some type of assembly, because I'm more than happy to do it myself. It needs to be done. So please do this, do something. Our students need it, even our staff need it. It's got everybody shook up. So, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, being no other public comments, we will adjourn at 8:20. Thank you very much, everybody.